Lost in space and time for over 10,000 years, on a mission they were never meant to return from. They have returned from the horrible secrets of space. They are the Comic Shop.
Oh, Doctor. Welcome to another very special episode of The Comic Shop Does a Podcast. My name is Evan Coy.
I'm Lucas Brewer.
And we're here with a very special guest today whose camera just got knocked and will probably be in a very weird focus, Alex Dexter. Hey, that's actually not terrible. It's a little bit of a close-up, but that's pretty good. This is a different episode of The Comic Shop Does a Podcast today. We were going to be joined today by Martin. Unfortunately, Martin had some other things go on that were beyond his control today. So we will do an episode next week, Lord willing, with Martin, where we will talk about Roger Corman's 1994 Fantastic Four movie. We're also going to be, where should I look? We're also going to be talking about the Fantastic Four Jonathan Hickman run. Alex, have you read any of that?
I have not read a large amount of it, but I do distinctly remember a lot of panels.
Does the title for
it.
that thing really just say all three people?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Comic Shop presents a podcast. All three people.
All three people. All three people. Why not? I'm sorry. I was so distracted by him changing the scenes there. So you've read a little bit of the Hickman?
I have read a little bit of the Hickman run, and like a lot of Hickman's work, it has a good flow to it. There's a good story. I don't really remember how it ends, but
I don't either.
I feel like going a lot of his work, it kind of got a little long in the tooth, and then he had to figure out how to end it.
Boy, he starts strong, though, right? He starts strong. That's what I always love about Hickman. Everything is so well researched, and it's always a really great. He doesn't step on anybody's toes. He's always able to take old stories, kind of freshen them up, make them new. So we'll be talking, Lucas. We will be talking some Fantastic Four Jonathan Hickman next week as well. I know all two viewers all one viewer is very excited about that.
We may have more. Just
okay.
On time.
Again, Martin was supposed to be here today. He's got some car issues. Everything is all right. Martin, we miss you. We missed you today. It was a day where...
we did good.
We did very well.
It took us like 5 hours to do the wall, though.
So the wall, the new comic wall, Alex, are you familiar with this? So typically that's a Martin project. I think I've done it once in the 2 years that I've been here. It's been my responsibility to do the wall.
He has a good flow to it and has worked it up over many years.
Yeah, he does. And so we put in everything, all the new books, everything was cataloged, logged in today, going very smooth. And then it's like, all right, let's do the wall. And it wasn't a disaster.
No.
But,
I feel like once we started putting books on the wall, it was a disaster. Because we always had to keep rearranging.
Well, that's the whole point of the wall is
right,
doing
but
it.
there would be like an A in the T's.
Yeah, that's a long-standing gripe of Martin's is how many the books are there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then like at one point in time we realized like somebody must have grabbed several books and then put them back and just jammed them into a single slot. So we're like, oh my goodness, this throws off all the math that we've been doing. But so we missed.
We had to recalculate.
Yeah, we missed Martin today. I did my best Martin impression. Lucas did his. I don't know what kind of impression you did.
I don't know.
You did good though. You did very well.
Being a step above what I usually am.
Which is good. Normally you're a step behind. Today you were only like half a step behind. So that was very much.
Yeah.
So here's my important question to Lucas.
Yes.
Did you ask about lunch when you got here?
Probably.
I think I brought up lunch first.
Yeah, I think you did.
I was hungry for whatever reason.
I was starving though, but I didn't say anything for like. I think it was like the first hour, and then you were like, you brought up lunch. No, actually, you know what? When I first walked in, pretty much before he went to Stewart's as soon as I got here, and he said we're gonna order pizza today. And I said
I felt like it
that's
was a
fine
pizza
by
day.
me. And then we didn't order it for like an hour later, and he brought it up again. And I'm like, I'm freaking starving.
It's a great. Cold, crappy day food.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Get a pizza and kind of graze on it.
I didn't realize, I guess GJP closed early yesterday and closed early today. So
that doesn't surprise me.
Well, no, oddly enough, we ordered pizza earlier than we would have normally ordered it. So everything kind of worked out that the delivery came very early. They said 45 minutes, was here in like 15 minutes. And
it was crazy.
Shout out to Larry Miller for such speedy service. But then I realized that, on their social post, it says they're closing at 1:30. So that's why they got here at 1:35,
Yeah.
since they're all trying to get out
Which
the door.
messes me up. As you know, because we often see each other at GJP, that's one of my stops, like at least once a week when I get out of work. It's like, time to go grab a slice or two, but I get out at 3, and if they've been closed since 1:30, bummer.
Yes. So, Lucas, the other day, I was grabbing a slice after work, and I pull up to GJP, and I'm trying to determine, I'm standing in the parking lot looking through the glass, and Alex is in there, but he just has a different outfit on or something like that, and I'm trying to
Definitely not this.
I'm trying to see his
Not the bright neon.
I'm trying to see his gauges to see if if that's the Alex ear, then I know that's Alex. And I think I stood outside for like 45 seconds doing a
And I missed it, too.
and so finally I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Alex. I guess I'm going to go inside now. Why I can't just walk inside, walk next to the person to determine why I need to do this
I was gonna say, I'm
outside.
like, did it matter?
No, not at
like,
all.
Was it gonna change the?
But I didn't want to walk up to him and just assume it was Alex, and I felt like that was going to be my best angle because outside I could take possibly a better angle than coming up from behind on him. So there's a whole strategy, Lucas.
You've thought.
I've embarrassed myself once doing that in the grocery store. I saw somebody who I thought was a longtime friend of mine who has a lot of piercings and tattoos and things like that. So I excitedly go up behind this stranger and just yell, "Sam!" And he turns around and is like, okay, nope. Okay, well, I guess I have to go get my groceries now with that on my head.
That is
You just gotta
awful.
say, "What did you do with Sam?" and run away, and maybe that's like the way you can redeem yourself.
Oh, that's funny.
But anyway, I stalked out Alex the other day at GJP, which we frequently meet at GJP. There's probably a once a month
Where
where
the cool kids hang out, right?
Yep,
I mean,
you're not wrong.
the pizza's great. This is gonna turn into a GJP commercial. The pizza's
They're
great.
great.
Larry will love it. GJP.
Which shout out to Aaron Z. Lee, who new father. New father, I love Lucy. His new daughter, Lucille. Middle name I'm forgetting, Lee. But we're very happy that Lucy Lee is here and the family is good.
Yes.
Working on the Comic Shop Makes a Comic #3 coming in
I saw
February.
you guys post about that the other day.
There may be a GJP commercial or advertisement in the style of a Hostess Pie comic ad.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that.
That might be a Martin and Alex, or rather Aaron Lee team up. So there could be.
Whoa, we got what?
There could be a future advertisement for GJP in the Comic Shop Makes a Comic. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we got some comments here.
okay, hold on. Aaron and his lovely wife Tressa welcomed their new daughter Lucille Olivia. I actually wrote this down in my notes. I was looking at my notes. Into the world on Sunday, January 9th at 10:54 p.m. 6 pounds 8 ounces 20 inches long. I'm told that mom, daughter, and dad are all doing well.
He posted a picture today on his Facebook wearing a Lee Dungarees sweatshirt, which I greatly appreciated.
In case you were confused as to who he was, here's a big branding of my last name on my chest.
I did see that. It's funny.
Okay. So yeah.
So we got some comments
Okay.
from Mr. Lee himself.
Oh, Mr. Lee.
Hi,
He
Aaron.
said they let Alex out of work.
I mean,
I guess
today.
Today they did. It looks like the middle name is Olivia.
Which Aaron, I do have that in my notes right in front of me. I don't know why I blanked. I got to start looking at the camera. I don't know why I blanked when I started reading off her name there. So,
He failed big time.
well, you know.
And we also have a very important comment from I don't know, some random guy. Hi, Lucas. I'm your biggest fan, so I appreciate that.
But it's not. I bet why you mad.
I don't think it is. I haven't
Okay.
seen that person in chat today.
It's weird.
Thank
Thank
God.
God.
It's weird.
Every time they comment, I'm like, oh my God.
So they did let you out of work. You typically work pretty crummy hours. However, this winter's been a little different.
What do
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What the question is?
What do you
what
do?
don't I do? Today I was making signs for an upcoming event. That was the bulk of my day, but I was briefly interluded with, hey, if it snows bad enough, we might need you to get into a snowplow. But all of my day yesterday, it started at 8 a.m. or so. They're like, do you think you can stay till 7? It's like, I have a pounding headache. We'll see how the day goes. But I stayed till 7, and at like 6:40, I called the supervisors and ask them whether or not they wanted me to stay longer, which is a rare thing for me because at 12 hours, I've kind of hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Which was probably the better thing, as I was taking my truck back to fuel up, and just got to drive through the whiteout for a good 5-10 minutes, and the windshield froze over, and the plow lights had dipped down from hours of banging into snowbanks, and I couldn't see. I was driving down George Street, and it was pitch black, no light, frozen windshield, just kind of trying to keep it in the middle.
What kind of truck are you driving?
Just a 6-wheel pickup truck. Like I don't.
You don't have a CDL.
No, I don't have a CDL. I have been a wingman in the past, but that's kind of past where I'm at in my career.
We're going to come back to snow plowing because I think that. Yeah. But I'm always so impressed with your level of knowledge when it comes to everything. When you say you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, Alex really has such a depth of knowledge. Almost the opposite of you, Lucas. That he's one of these people that you could put him in any type of situation, and he's able to use the data and facts that are given to him and find a resolution.
I'll be honest with you. I think my mom's not going to like that comment.
No, okay.
You're gonna be on a naughty list.
I was going to liken you to.
Let's be honest, we don't want that.
I was going to liken you to a mental veal that you're just kind of like a soft whatever. Whereas Alex has been hardened by all the different circumstances in his life that have made him like this MacGyver of the Oswego Department of Public Works.
Alex has a few years on me. I'm a young lad.
This is true. That is a good excuse.
Exactly. So
we'll revisit this podcast in how old are you?
21, 22?
21, yeah.
15 years.
Yes. Let's go back in 15 years and see if I'm as just
we'll see
knowledgeable as
when you're
Dexter.
like a famous movie director.
Yeah.
Oh, way to set the bar low for yourself already. Yeah.
You know what I was doing at 21? Absolutely, nothing. So.
I think I had a job in this time of year as maybe a flower delivery driver.
Okay.
Because I was working summers at a campground, and then winters were just odd jobs to get through the 4 or 5 months of unemployment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was 21. I was going to school at Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Just getting in bar fights and just kind of whatever
doing what you had to do.
Just
21.
being a kind of a loser. Kind of just a lot of the dumb things that you think about.
You sound like a smart kid.
No, not at all. I had a lot of very smart friends. I was always very lucky in that regard.
That's what a lot of people say about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in comparison to
he's very smart. So.
Oh, I thought you meant in comparison to the rest of your friends. All of your friends would say, "Well, we're the smart friends."
No,
that's why we hang out with Lucas. He kind of
opposite.
boosts all of our. No, okay.
They're like, "Oh, that's the Einstein of the group." So, well,
who is Einstein?
He was a physicist that helped create the atomic bomb.
All right, very good. I'll accept.
I'm really good with history, so don't ask me that. Mm-hmm. Guarantee.
Who is Norman Rockwell?
He is a famous painter.
Oh, okay. So you did retain that knowledge from the last time we talked
Actually,
about
it's funny. On my way home, for Christmas, I stopped at Barnes & Noble, and they had a Norman Rockwell calendar. I was like, oh, my God, I should buy this.
Well, I feel like that's one of those moments where now that you've heard the name, it pops out more. You're like, oh, yeah the thing that I've seen who knows how many times in advertisements, calendars. It's like, oh, yeah, Norman Rockwell, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. Let's see. We got some comments here. Aaron wants to know, Alex, if the wind blows hard enough, will you get into an airplane?
If the wind blows hard enough, will I get into an airplane?
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably fashion some amount of wings to something. Like the wind coming off the lake is pretty aggressive.
Yes.
We could fashion some wings, put it on a, some kind of wingsuit, plow truck. It's light. I don't know. We'll fly around.
You could figure it out.
Get an ultralight and then drop salt from the ultralight to do the roads.
I like this. This is kind of fun. It's going to end in a death, but it's kind of a fun concept.
It'll be a sparkling finish.
Do we have any more comments?
We do. We have some great ones, actually. Football MM says Lucas shallow well of knowledge. I don't know if that's true.
Shallow well.
This guy, don't know who he is. Owl UFO. I'll have you know, Lucas went to Cornell and Harvard. and my mom wanted to add that was before I was 5. So, I'm a stupid guy.
Is that like the scene where Will Ferrell's character is sitting in the back of the car and says, "I know Johnny Hopkins."
I don't know. I don't know that reference.
It's from Step Brothers. They're like going to the new house. I knew Johnny Hopkins. I used to blaze it every day with him and Sloane Kettering.
I do remember that. Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. Adam McKay, great director.
Any more comments?
No.
Not right now.
Nothing good?
Nothing of.
All right, so let's go back to how terrible the
Nothing
weather
great.
is, and I want to hear about the snow plowing. That does sound terrifying to me. Like it's. I had a buddy who did this. I worked landscaping when I was Lucas's age. I worked a landscaping job, and the last job of the summer was to always get the plows, prepped for powder coat and things like that, and get them mounted on the trucks. And my roommate would sometimes go out. He worked for the landscaping company a lot longer than I did, and would sometimes go out and plow. And I always just felt like it was always like a nightmare story he would come back with.
It's chaotic for the guys who do independent plowing like that, if only for the fact that sometimes they take on too many clients. So much like the other day when I was plowing or going to and from my various locations that I was supposed to be helping keep clean up, I'd see the contractors just tearing through town, back and forth all day. And I know a few years ago, a guy that had a lot of private routes, his transmission caught on fire.
Yeah.
Like he had run so much for so long, starting like from 3 a.m. or whatever it was, that the transmission caught on fire, and that was it. So he had to call everybody that was on his list and say, "Hey, I don't even know when I'm going to have a truck to get you out."
As a mechanical man, explain to me why your transmission would catch on fire. I don't quite.
So the more you shift gears, especially in something like an automatic transmission where you're just going back and forth between drive and reverse, and it's trying to shift through gears, and you're crashing into a snowbank and shifting back, like slowly the transmission fluid will heat up, and like then it can't dissipate the heat from all those gear shifts. And once it reaches a critical point, much like a lot of, it's not a petroleum based fluid, but it will catch on fire. But like that also means that you ignored your gauges and things like that. So.
And welcome back to Transmission Talk at the comic shop.
This is how
I am Evan Coy, your head mechanic. Do you have any good plow stories from either last yesterday or?
So, first thing in the morning, first thing I had to do was clean out all the crossover lanes in 481 and 104. So I had to like clean out where people turn around to go, switch directions or, get on and off of the highway from the local roads. And when I was doing 104 around 5th Ave, there was a tractor trailer who lost traction, slid about 20 or 30 feet backwards down the hill, never regained traction, then tried to turn around, jackknifed it across the entire lane, and I had to get out and stop in direct traffic for about 10 minutes while he figured it out. And the whole time I was wondering whether or not he was going to wipe out some signs or get himself so stuck that I'd have to call a supervisor to bring a loader over to help get the truck unstuck.
Yeah, that sounds
not fun.
There were also a number of accidents. It seemed like as you're driving through town, you'd see the police lights or, the paramedics going to and from.
One of our own yesterday was in an accident, struck a pole. I tried to do a little bit of traffic directing when we couldn't get the tow truck to whatever. It was a mess.
Seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, it was. It was a very bad idea. Standing out there in the blizzard in non-reflective clothes, telling people to keep going down, don't turn down this. It worked out fine, but not one of my brightest moves.
A fair warning to that. It's always good to try and help out. But if you're actually directing traffic and cause an accident, it can be considered your fault.
Not with the way I bullshit, but hey,
you know what? If you caused an accident, you'd be in jail. Big time.
Jail. Yeah, that's it.
no,
You'd be in the slammer.
I'd kill all the
Straight to
witnesses.
jail.
I'd kill all the
Yep.
witnesses. It would escalate from a fender bender to like a triple homicide in about
smokes.
4 minutes. And yes.
But the rest of the day was pretty mundane. I mean, it was very, cleaning parking lots, scraping parking spots as people move their vehicles, trying to keep the roads clear. Eventually, the snow slowed down enough where we did catch up for just long enough to get the roads clean for it to snow another 3-4 inches during the whiteout at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Do we have any good snow day stories from when we were kids or anything like that? Any good snow day stories that you...
So, most of mine were pretty boring. I really like, if it was cold and crappy and we got snowed in, I definitely was one to just kind of stay inside. When I was maybe in my early teens, I was a big, let's go sledding or let's find a place, like a dirty snow hill somewhere
Yeah.
that you can take the inner tube down. But probably the most memorable things were later in life when the ice storm happened here.
when
And-
was the ice storm?
Oh, that 2002, 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. Like, I had my license. It was state of emergency. Do not drive. And of course, my friend had a 1975 Grand Prix, and we were driving around whatever streets we could find that did not have down power lines, branches frozen to the road. There's icicles crashing on the hood of the car. But that was a strong memory, was like just doing what we weren't supposed to be doing on a fairly treacherous weather experience.
I
See,
won-
hold on.
Go ahead.
He wasn't always the well of knowledge you think he is.
Oh, there's plenty of stupidity like just trapped in here. But
yeah. I do wonder if that ties into the year I was at. What time of year was this? Was it around like a Thanksgiving?
No. This
during
was
the
Okay.
April or May. It
Ooh.
happened. Yeah,
Oh
it
my
happened.
God.
It happened late in the year. It caused a lot of damage. We lost countless trees throughout the county. The dome that is no longer on 481. So as you're leaving town, that soccer field that's off on the right used to be a dome, kind of like the Golden Bear Golf Dome up in Clay. But the ice caused a power failure for so long and did so much damage to the structure that it deflated on itself.
Jeez.
And then it just never really reopened.
We do have a couple comments there.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know. Football said 2001, and then it seems like maybe he corrected himself and said 2002.
It looks like Martin's saying April of 2002.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Martin.
I mean, it could be anybody.
This is Martin.
It could be anybody. It might be that's Alex Dexter. I'm not
Well,
sure.
Martin's never watched before. Is that Alex Dexter? Maybe.
I don't know.
Martin's never watched before, so.
All right, well, then it's not Martin. Maybe I'm confused.
No, it definitely is, because that's his Discord name.
Are you sure?
Positive. It's football Eminem, yeah.
Sorry, Martin.
Football Eminem, the thing that was recently disappeared from the comic shop.
Oh, it's not. There's still two of them in the bathroom.
Okay.
It reminds me of, I was thinking of in college, and this maybe it's 2001 of like Thanksgiving time. I remember getting on the road to go home for like Thanksgiving break, and it was like crazy whiteout blizzard. And we got on the 90 to go from Buffalo to Rochester. And we must have been the last cars. I didn't realize you could shut down like a big interstate like
Yeah.
that. And I think we were like the last car to get on, and we were following another friend, and you couldn't see anything. So within 30 seconds time, we were
Yeah,
separated.
And it just gets scarier from there.
I'm sorry, he was following us. And within 30 seconds time, trying to leave UB to go to get on the 90, we lost him. He turned around and went back to the college campus because it was so bad,
Yeah.
and ended up, there was a bunch of like refugees staying on campus for Thanksgiving. We were like the last car to get on the 90. We got home and everything was fine, but like, I just remember it was like 2 hours on a road, not being able to, the first time not being able to see anything. We were
Yeah.
just riding the road strip to kind of like figure out, okay, am I still on the road?
It's just the guess as to where you are in between the two lanes and the two shoulders going, I don't know, I guess I'm not off the road yet.
But it was also like literally 2 hours on the 90, which I don't recall, and maybe this is exaggeration at this point in time because it was 20 years ago. I don't remember seeing any traffic. It was like we were the last car on the 90. It was wild.
It probably very much was the scenario that a state of emergency or a do not travel was issued, and you guys just kind of missed it.
We're like, hey, we gotta go. We missed it. We're like, hey, man, I'm not missing Thanksgiving. We're going. So, Lucas, do you have any good snowed in? How was Lowe's the other day? You said
Lowe's yesterday was bad. First off, they're having
shout out to Lowe's, by the way. We haven't shouted out Lowe's in a while.
Yes, shop at Lowe's. It's the greatest place to shop, arguably.
You can acquire hardware
and a lot of other great, amazing things.
Do you like Conduit?
They sometimes have it.
We always have it, for your information. Actually,
That's a lie.
That's not. I would never fib. But anyway, yes. So we're having our bathroom remodeled. Both bathrooms and the unisex.
Oh, okay.
bathroom.
I saw the weird trailer out front, and I was trying to figure out what it was the other day.
Yes. So that's the porta potties. And so yesterday, I mean, if you live in Oswego, you know it snowed. It was windy all day, pretty much.
I want you to know that when he says that it's the porta potties, that this isn't like they dropped a blue bowl off out front.
You're right.
It is a tow behind trailer with like 4 doors in it that looks like, is it heated?
Maybe a little, but not really.
See,
So the answer is yes or no. It's not
lamp of luxury in terms of portable toilets.
We were actually talking. We're going to talk about porta potties now. When we used to open up new Wegmans, they would drop one of these super fancy trailers behind the store until the plumbing and everything was. So I'm actually fairly accustomed to the highest end of porta johns. So,
Not me. But you were saying.
Yes. So we had to go out in the cold and go. If we had to use the bathroom, go use the bathroom in the cold, and it was brutal. I hated every second of it. Each time I went out there, I sweared like a sailor. It was that bad.
At least it wasn't today, where most of the day was the single digits, and if you were in the wind, it was negative.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it was no fun though. And I worked. Everyone was calling in because
Bad weather. Yeah.
right, whatever.
See, I don't get that luxury, really.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the expectation of, hey, if we're down to calling you, you got to go in.
Right.
So would you say yesterday at Lowe's was like your personal Vietnam?
No, I think I've had worse days, honestly.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't fun. I was like running around all the the entire place, which makes the time go by fast. But my thighs were chafing. I was dead. I was dead. But like at 12:30, I'm like, I want to go home. I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go outside. I'm uncomfortable. It was not fun. But I made it work. I was scheduled 6 a.m. to 12. Ended up having to stay till 3, which isn't, it's going to be a nice paycheck. So I'm not too upset.
It's pretty close to my usual day.
Right. But I'm part-time. So, for me, it's like 9 hours for, no thanks.
I almost had zero sympathy for you, and then you said my thighs chafing, and I went, I could just feel that pain. I could just feel that pain.
Yeah,
Once it starts, it's kind of
done.
game over.
It's game over. When I was a dishwasher, every night my thighs would just chafe, and I think it was just because I wasn't moving around a whole lot.
But you're in a gross, humid environment,
right? Yeah. And I like by the end of the night I was soaked, and eventually I had to buy a plastic. My mom, thankfully, shout out to my mom, she bought me a plastic apron.
See,
so I would wear that, and boom, no more chafing.
I thought you were gonna pivot and go rubber underwear.
I should have. That would have been more fun. Yeah, should have went with those. I had 2 options. I went with the plastic apron, but should have went with the plastic underwear.
Welcome back to Thigh Chafe Fact or Fiction. My name is Evan Coy. I am your Thigh Chafe host.
That's just one of the worst things
It is.
you can experience.
It is.
I hate it.
I was thinking about my terrible snow story. Not terrible snow story, but I believe this was, Lucas, this is before your existence. This was like 1993, and we were camping, and it was March with the Boy Scouts, and it was a hunting cabin trip that we would take every year. One of the adults had a hunting cabin somewhere on the New York PA border, and wasn't in use at that particular time. So we kind of have a run of the cabin. There were a couple cabins that were out there, and the biggest blizzard in 30 years came through or something like that, and we got snowed in at the cabin. Now, if you're a 12-year-old kid, This is a lot of fun. This is like
So would that have been like 97 maybe?
it would have been 93.
93.
So just to date myself.
So those are the two memories growing up that I have of significant snowstorms that weren't just Oswego getting significant lake effect snow. It was the blizzard of 93 and then the blizzard of 97, where over the course of like 12 hours we got 4 feet or more of snow.
97 was a similar situation in Rochester. I don't think it was as bad, but it was of
similar,
a similar. So, you know, again, you're a 12-year-old kid. This is kind of fun that like, hey, well, we don't have to go to school on Monday. We're still stuck in the cabin. So Monday goes by and Tuesday goes by, and you only bring enough food on a camping trip for the 3-day weekend. So there's like 20 of us or so.
Get down to the saltines and the, honey packets.
Well, at this point in time, I think the adults start to panic. And so the decision is made, well, we've got 20 kids with us. We've got shovels. There are some shovels. Let's shovel the 2 or 3 miles down the hill because we need to get out of here. Like, we're running out of food. One of the adults tried to walk down the hill to like the nearest house and had to turn around. It was just physically impossible to do.
I thought you were going to pivot and go Donner Party, that the adults got together.
We did kill a child, but that was totally an accident. That was not, and we didn't really eat him. It was more of a tasting and then a rejection of that idea. But so we after several hours of shoveling, we realized we're not shoveling out of this situation. So the adults then started breaking into the other hunting cabins that were there in search of food, of which we found like a bunch of ground beef or something like that.
Sure.
And I remember that Wednesday, it was like ground beef day because that's all that we had we're down to the ground beef and a bunch of seasonings. So I just remember like everybody was trying to do like super hot ground beef because that's like we just had a bunch of chili powder and like random things. But really, like, all the kids were starting to get like dehydrated, and like there were not big issues, but it was starting to become like if this goes on for another day or two, this could be a problem. And we're sitting there at night listening to this, maybe Tuesday night, listening to the radio, listening to the AM radio station, and a woman calls in and goes, everybody's complaining about this. My nephew was out there in the middle of nowhere with his Boy Scout troop. It was one of our kids that we were with, and we're like, oh shoot, like your aunt's shouting us out. Your aunt's shouting us out.
We're gonna get
saved. They're gonna send the rescue party now. But it ends up that Wednesday, later in the day, all of a sudden a plow came up the mountain for us and got us out so we could get down and get out. But it was like one of those like. As a kid, you thought it was fun, but I just remember like the adults all talking about that for quite a while afterwards. We're going, boy, if that went another 24 or 48 hours, I don't know what we would have done.
It gets a little more harrowing. It becomes kind of like old Boy Scout trips where instead of, bringing the kids out to the woods, it's like you read through your handbook so you know that you can boil snow down to water and you could go forage if you dug down low enough. But it gets kind of ugly when you're just like a bunch of adults trying to encourage children to go, like, this isn't a fun camping trip anymore. This is now survival.
And it didn't quite get to that maybe, but I do recall like on that Tuesday night, like the adults talking to us and being like, hey, and I think that they're not agitated, probably agitated. Like you're stuck in this little cabin and you don't know what to do. But is that Joe Samuel? Joe, come over and just say hello.
Joe Samuels.
Joe Samuels is here, sneaking around the background. Don't knock anything over.
Of the store.
Come, just say hi to Alex for 1 second.
Go stand right over here.
Joe was living in Buffalo, not in the worst of the snow, but what was that? 7 or 8 years ago now? Yeah. When like 7 feet of snow landed in maybe 6 hours to the point where they had to close the entirety of the thruway and countless parts of the town because it was actually buried above people's like rooftops of their cars.
Yeah, no, a guy I know was driving on 90 in the south of Buffalo, coming back from, I think he was at a park, and he was stranded on I-90 for a day or two until the plows came through and took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where our apartment was, though, we got like 6 inches.
Yeah. He was in this weird pocket.
Insane.
Because I definitely remember calling or texting you guys. He was like, you're good, right? You're like, yeah, I mean, this is just like a regular snowstorm.
Yeah, this is nothing. because I didn't take 90 to get there. 'Cause at the time, Leo was in Buffalo and I was still around here. I drove 104 because I knew that was north of the storm, and it just came into Northtown, no problem.
All right, Joe. I don't know how much we're picking up off Mike here because of that. I know we're getting some of it.
Yeah.
But what's your on a snow day? What's your comfort thing to do?
Well, I don't know. I'll just play games.
Is there okay? You're
Right.
stuck at home, which
Yeah,
you're at home
like right now,
right now. You're just playing Metroid.
probably just playing Metroid.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
Speed run a game.
Yeah, I got that sub 2. I gotta get that time lower now.
So Joe and I were talking about AGDQ, which is like a big charity event for the Prevent Cancer Foundation that's going on all this week.
Is it the speedrun
on
stuff?
Twitch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we talked about this before? I never was into video games or speedruns or anything like that until several years ago. All of a sudden, I saw them doing this charity event speedrun thing, and I was like, "Oh, do you know what a speedrun is? You probably do, right? I'm old, so like I didn't come across this stuff until later. But I was like, "Oh, I totally get why people watch this stuff. This was fascinating."
So AGDQ is Awesome Games Done Quick, and like they rotate through some charities, but this time it's the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and they started Sunday and they go till this following Sunday, and like they continuously beat their own goals. So I believe last night when I haven't checked their total today, but they had already raised like $750,000 in like a day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it also like kind of introduces you to the world of like weird speed runs, and like they have various blocks, so they'll do like a Metroidvania where it's all Metroid and Castlevania and games that are clones of it, or Mega Man, or one of my favorite, the Awful Block, where they just
Awful
pick
Block is
the worst games. Some of them are speed run in less than 10 minutes, like. But somehow there's like a skill peak there where like if you were trying to play the game, it just it could go on for hours.
Is this like a NES Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle underwater level type thing where like
Absolutely.
if you got it, you got it,
That's
but
competently put together at least, though.
Okay.
I have seen the speed run of that game. It's like I'm watching like history be made because somebody's beating this game.
No, like I think one of my favorite ones, because I do like Mega Man. There was a Mega Man game released for the PC back in 90 whatever, and I think the guys that developed it actually made greeting card software. Aside from this,
greeting card software to accompany Mega Man.
and
I mean, sounds good.
like one of the things that was really funny, but like a lot of early games, when you develop them, you wouldn't put like a frame rate cap on it
Right. Yeah.
because you just assume the computer's so slow it's barely going to run.
Yeah.
So this game unfortunately suffers from not having a frame rate cap.
So with modern
Where things are
technology,
just jumping on you repeatedly, and you can't do anything about it. 'cause
It's
just
impossibly
going
fast.
Too fast. But I've watched people play this game. Like they'll emulate it and slow it down to make it reasonable. But the game is miserable. It's not. It's not.
Doesn't
good.
sound fun. Yeah.
It's just a bad game.
All right, Joe.
So
You got to get home to your wife. Is there anything you want to plug before you go? You want to plug some Magic cards? OswegoComicShop.com. We got a whole selection of Magic singles. We got a bunch of what list?
we got a bunch of reserve.
A
list
bunch of
stuff
reserve
last
list
week.
cards the other day. Reserve list. You're not finding many of them anymore.
Yeah.
But stop at the shop. You can look online. Joe's got a system. You can sort them by color, by set, by pretty much anything you want. Joe's got a functionality where you can find those cards quick. Joe picked up a whole huge collection of very spicy, very old, very fun Magic cards. I know I asked you what you wanted to plug, and then I just went to plug it for you. But Joe, we appreciate you. The mysterious man behind the curtain here at the comic shop.
Crimson Vow Draft this Friday.
Crimson Vow Draft this Friday. Come to Crimson Vow Draft.
Come to Crimson Vow Draft this Friday. $15 gets you in the door. Get you 3 packs. Go 0-3. Win 1 pack. Win a game. You get 2 packs. Win 2 games. Get 3 packs. Win all 3 games. You get 5 packs. Come one, come all. Wear a mask. Be safe. Social distance. Have some fun. Crimson Vow Draft this Friday. $15.
And one last bit of Magic news. Joe, when is Kamigawa Block
Oh,
coming?
new Kamigawa
Neon Dynasty.
I believe is coming out in the middle of next month. We do have pre-orders available.
Pre-orders
Shop.com.
Pre-orders available. OswegoComicShop.com. It's in the little scroller at the top. Kamigawa, Neon, whatever it is. Get some things on a discount.
Robot, samurai, ninjas.
Yeah, you know it. You love it.
Cyberpunk in
bright
your Magic
colors.
in the deep tradition of cyberpunk and Magic.
Yep.
But
We're starting it now.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Thanks, Joe.
All right.
All right.
you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, Joe.
All right. Comfort stuff. We're talking, what's Joe's thing on a day, a cold winter day like this? He's going to play his video games. He's going to play his Metroid. What are you doing? Are you reading anything? You doing anything? Like, what's your comfort day off activity if this was to be a snow day, Lucas?
I mostly just lay in bed.
Okay.
Just lay in bed and stare at the ceiling.
You lay in
Netflix
bed,
binge.
You lay in bed and read.
No.
You lay in bed and read.
Nothing like that. I just
You lay in bed and read.
I just lay in
you
bed. and-
lay-
Do you read Saga?
No, I
You don't.
when
You
I have a
don't.
snow day, I just lay in bed and stare at the ceiling and think of anything else but Saga.
Well, then we won't talk about Saga, the book that you asked me to pull for you. Instead, we're going to go to Alex Dexter. Alex, what have you been doing? If you had a day off, you're stuck at home, what would you be doing?
I would be painting my new Warhammer Age of Sigmar army, the Gloomspite Gits. Basically, spending my entire day squinting, painting tiny goblins. We don't have any Gits, but we do have things like this knight from Warhammer 40k.
Why am I blanking on the? We were just talking about
It's the Adeptus
Adeptus Mechanicus.
I think it's painted with the scheme of Adeptus Mechanicus. I believe this is actually a knight Castellan or something like that. I'm not familiar with like the armies that. Is it in
it's
frame?
great.
It's in frame.
Beautiful.
We'll give it a full rotate.
Seats behind.
Not assembled or painted by me, but it's a pretty nicely detailed model.
I
So.
believe this is an Ian Venton specialty right here.
Who is it?
Ian Venton? I don't think you know him.
Venton, a magic player at the comic shop.
112 East Bridge Street, the
The
comic
comic
shop. He plays Magic with us. I don't think he's played Warhammer with us, but he sold us a couple of his Warhammer sets because we had an interest in getting started and playing Warhammer.
Awesome. Sweet.
So, Alex, tell Lucas what Warhammer is, because I don't think he knows what
It's a
Warhammer is.
board game.
So Warhammer is a strategy tabletop game. You have an amount of miniatures that you kind of agree upon with your opponent, from 500 up to several thousand points, which could be as few as a few of the models that I just showed you, because I think the knight itself is worth 500 points or something crazy like that.
Jeez.
So in a 500 on 500 game, you would field one unit.
Whereas the person you're fighting might field 30 units of little dudes.
Little guys.
Sure,
yeah.
yeah.
The difference between 40k and Age of Sigmar is one's more of a fantasy base, so wizards and weird demons, and although not to get in it too far, but the demons kind of are unchanged through 40,000 years, so you can play demons in Age of Sigmar and 40k.
Which I think is actually a pretty clever thing, that you've got your futuristic space set, and then you've got your old-timey Tolkien, Middle-earth type stuff, and you have a race that has survived across 100,000 years, and they're still playable in both
tame chaos.
universes. I think that's kind of fun.
Can't tame chaos. It's just
Guess not. Clearly not.
But yeah, on a day where I was snowed in or couldn't get to work or just had the day off, at this point I'm painting my army, trying to get it more and more tabletop ready. I really just started collecting about a month and a half ago, so like I'm still pretty early on in my collection. So I have the Gits, which are goblins and gross spiders and things that like mushrooms, and these things called squigs, which look like meatballs with teeth, kind of like
Sound
Langoliers, if anybody knows Langoliers.
Yeah. That's cool.
Meatballs with teeth.
Yeah, they're
eat
pretty
'em.
gross and awful.
So how long does it take you to paint something?
Well,
it obviously depends on the size.
so
Yeah, take a smaller figure there. How long would it take you to paint like a smaller figure like that?
so something like maybe this,
Because these come in, it's just kind of a gray plastic model that
Yes.
you're putting together.
Oh, so yeah, like the construction alone might take you, 2-3 hours
Dang.
for something like this size, because this model probably had, I would guess, 10 to 12 pieces, and some of them are increasingly smaller and smaller. Like I had a few of the Gits I put together a Mangler Squigs, which is something similarly sized as the Knight, but it had things like you have to glue a single tooth into a gum line, and that tooth is maybe the size of the tip of a toothpick. So somehow I have to hold it with my big dumb hands.
That actually sounds kind of stupid.
Hold the super glue in there. But the sculpts on the models are detailed enough where it's noticeable. Like maybe that tooth faced out, so in the mold line they couldn't make the actual piece. It just didn't make sense. But I've had models that have taken me, 2-3 hours realistically to like get them all set, cut out, sanded, glued, and then comes priming. So you just kind of use a generic primer. I use the Games Workshop branded stuff just because that's what somebody bought for me for Christmas, which was a nice gift. But then painting alone, something complicated could take you 10 hours or longer. If you're really adept at painting, you can kind of use some cheats that I haven't learned or haven't honed, where a big model might only take you 3 or 4 hours. But a small model that are even smaller than even the little tank guy that I showed, my goblins are, maybe a half an inch tall. It's like I can tear through most of the base colors of that in 20 minutes, and that's just trying not to get paint on other stuff I've already painted.
I'd love to have a paint night. Actually, I think that's what our Warcraft night will eventually turn into. Is can we get people to come in to like, do you want to play? Do you want to build some models? Build some models. Do you want to paint? Paint. Do you want to just talk to people about how you're, like where it's just kind of a little bit of.
It's part of the fun of the whole hobby. The war game part is the reason why some people play, but an equal number of people just do it to build something cool and then paint it and show it off.
Yeah.
Our friend Casey, that's one of his big things. Like,
friend of the shop. Shout out to Casey Woods.
We should have him on the show soon.
We should.
I remember when we were much younger, I had really wanted to play Warhammer. It's a very expensive hobby, so like it's daunting.
I think we've talked about this before, about me as a kid in junior high going to the hobby shop, and like we had some friends that played role-playing games. I was into playing Magic. But you saw the table of Warhammer guys and the rulers, and this is back when they had like pewter.
Oh yeah, which I'm glad they got away from. The pewter models are kind of cool, but like I've heard how finicky they were to put together, and
it looked so cool to me though. It was just one of those things where like the budget to get it. To get in the door for that cost you a lot of money, and that's what was always one of those things where it looked cool, it looked fun, but like. I got $3 for a pack of Magic cards, and that's where I'm at.
As a kid or somebody even in your late teens, like if you weren't focused on wargaming, it's difficult. Which is nice that Evan was so nice to buy the collection from Ian, because now we do have a set from 40K that's available at the shop. So if you wanted to come in for a 40K night, which we've been trying to do at least once a month or once every other month, you could sit down with at least an army and learn to play or just fiddle around.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, hey, we got a couple armies in the store that you could play with. So that way, you don't have to spend $400 or more to build your little, hey, maybe we don't have every army, maybe we don't have everything. But like, if you want to play and have some fun and just use our armies, go ahead.
But it's
sweet.
It's been
how
fun
long
to
does
jump
it?
into.
How long does a game take, like a match?
So it's been kind of tough to judge. Like I've been for most of our 40K like learn to play nights, and because we have somebody helping adjudicate the rules, and it's also a lot of pauses in play, and there's not a lot of forethought because everybody's kind of learning. Like
we're all learning.
This is what you could do. This is what I would do. This is maybe what you should have done. So like maybe a turn that would have normally lasted 20 minutes to really get through the full turn, like one person's turn, might take half an hour or 45 minutes. So a game that would consist of 3 rounds has taken us, nearly 3 hours to get through. They can last from, I think normally you wouldn't play less than 3 rounds, but I've seen games that do like 5 rounds, and those are like objective based kind of things that are lower point values. I don't know much about competitive play, and honestly, I'm not overly interested. I really enjoy kind of the army building, and Casey and I have talked about once we flesh out our armies, we want to do like a big slog of just take all of the models you have, put a hard cap, like figure out, oh, if I have 5,000 points, pick your best 5,000 points, and we'll just go until there's no more things on the table.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Hey, all right. Martin's chastising us in the chat for not having any comic shop or comic book talk. I thought you were going to talk about Saga. If we're not going to talk about Saga, I think we're going to talk about some of Alex Dexter's books for the week here.
Yeah, why not?
Do you want to show off what you got in your pull list this week?
Let's see.
So we'll let's see if I can get some number ones out here first.
Right on top. What's that Rain book?
Rain.
I think I'm going to pull that, actually.
Rain from Joe Hill, David Boer, Zoe Thorogood, and Chris Halloran. This has been
that's
pretty...
not Hill House. I thought it was Hill House for some reason. That's an image.
So it's been pushed on their social media like pretty heavily. So let me see if I can just do like the kindergarten teacher flip through this. I haven't really looked at too much of the interior, but I do know that it's been pretty heavily pushed. Somewhere between a slice of life and some other bizarre things going on. I'm seeing raining glass.
Martin's saying this is part of a new imprint. So I'm not sure if he has an imprint through Image Comics or this is other. I would assume it's just he's taken Hill House maybe and moved it over to Image.
Yeah,
which
maybe
would make sense.
Could be, yeah.
As an aside to big comic news for Image, Jeff Lemire just signed like an exclusivity deal with Image for basically all of his properties going forward that aren't like exclusively to the big two.
I didn't realize that Image did this, but like Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker had that same deal for like a 5-year period. Image just said, we'll publish any book you want to do for a 5-year period, and like editorially our hands are off, which 5 years to me seems to be like, I could see like, hey, we'll give you 2 years and if things aren't working out, but what a sign of confidence in them.
It's an interesting gamble, but like if you like any of his properties, they've done exceedingly well, and he's managed to get some traction in terms of things being turned from comics into shows. Sweet Tooth, although
which is a good show, I think.
Maybe not the most critically successful, was good enough to get a second season.
I think it did well on Netflix. That's why I watched it. I actually enjoyed it more than the comic, which I haven't read the entire comic, but I've read the first trade, which collects like 12 issues, I think. And I like that. I like the show more, I think.
picked the compendium up of Sweet Tooth a little while ago, and then I have the singles of The Return.
Gotcha.
Other big Image comic news this week, and you're going to correct my because I'm going to say this incorrectly. They ratified their
they did
union.
So the last I saw of it, after you had sent me that message, was that they passed like 7 to maybe 2. With like 3 votes outstanding.
3 or 4 or something.
It wasn't enough to sway it because they had the majority, but it sounded like the people who were absent were in favor. Don't quote me on that. I didn't really read much further. I'm excited for them in terms of the industry, although it is not like you have to worry about, oh no, the artists have to worry about unionized staff. It's the staff that work in the office now are under a collective bargaining agreement going forward.
Which I'm under the impression, too, that especially with everything that's been going on in the past few years, those staff are probably pretty beat up.
I'm sure they are.
It's oftentimes the artists and writers that are, I'm not going to say missing deadlines or things like that, but when all of a sudden that book needs to get to press, guess what? It's on you.
Yep.
All those delays, the creative delays, that's not our problem anymore. Now it's your issue figuring this stuff out. With all the paper shortages and printer issues going on, I'm sure it's been a very stressful couple of years for everybody. But I'm sure in that situation, it's been a very, very stressful one. So shout out to Image Comics for unionizing.
Love Image.
What other books do we have over there? Anything else that's Maniac of New York. I pulled Maniac of New York as well.
Maniac of New York, that every time I see a Maniac of New York cover, it just really makes me want to dive into it.
Now, Lucas, you love watercolor.
I love watercolor. My favorite form of art.
Just some nice watercolor pages. Picking up some of that blood.
Really good watercolor pages, actually.
Yeah. someday, like Aaron, I'll come on with Aaron one of these days so that we can just berate you into liking watercolor. We'll take all of our favorite watercolor artists and comic artists and just make you have to flip through it in just a quick flash of maybe the last page.
What a tease.
I actually, I think I have the first maybe 3 issues of the original series, and I did enjoy it. I thought it was okay. I remember because it was when I first started coming to the shop that it came out, and I remember me and you used to talk about it.
Yeah, I really like that book.
Ink Blot. One that I've been getting since the beginning, and all of the panels in this just
We were talking about
a delight to look at.
We were talking about Emma Kubert the other day, the legacy from Sergeant Rock through their fathers, Adam and whatever, I'm blanking right now, but just the generation of Kuberts that do stuff. And I said I didn't see much of an influence in Emma Kubert's work from her father and her uncle, but Aaron said no, that there are definitely some things that you can see she comes from that line.
What other fun stuff? I've got Stillwater, which I honestly only got because it's from Chip Zdarsky. I have looked at the art a number of times, but I haven't read much more than the first issue.
Yeah.
But it's enough to continue to get it every time I flip through, because I'll always at least flip through things that I get, whether I have the time to read them in a week or not. The draw is always there. Like,
Yeah.
it's never failed me like some comics in the past where all of a sudden there'll be a change in the artist, or like somebody maybe was losing interest in the book that they were creating, and you can tell that like the heart left. And then my last one, I still have a few more, but Phenomics?
I guess that's how I would pronounce it.
Phenomex?
Phenomenon.
But the important part is it's from John Leguizamo.
A star of stage and screen.
Is it maybe the best comic? I don't know.
We're only 2 issues in, and I haven't read either of them. So,
But is it entertaining enough that John Leguizamo
Yeah.
is writing a comic?
I mean,
Yeah.
John Leguizamo. Why not? Let's see here. Aaron asked something. Are we ordering Hulk Grand Design for $316.22? Of course, we are ordering Hulk Grand Design.
Silly question.
Silly question, Aaron. You know that.
Come
We
on.
love the Grand Design books.
Love what is Grand Design?
Shout out to the kayfabe crew. You got to be a Pittsburgh artist and writer to do a Grand Design book for Marvel, and you do
Really?
a history of a particular title, whether it's X-Men or Fantastic Four or the Incredible Hulk, where you tell the entire story of the character in a few short books. So literally every panel references the next story or the next sequence. They're very it's a lot of little postage stamp sized drawings, but it's a way to encapsulate in a very fun way the entire history of a
It's
particular.
impressive. I didn't know these.
Yeah, Grand
yeah.
Design. There's an X-Men. There's a Fantastic Four. Aaron will tell me who does what. Tom Scioli is doing Hulk. Ed Piskor did X-Men, and Tom Scioli. Tom Scioli did Fantastic Four. So Aaron, I'm butchering it. I'm not a kayfabe guy as hardcore as you are, but those are fun books. Those are very well done books. Where like literally you can't skip anything. Every panel has to be what was the next X-Men event, what was the next Fantastic Four event. So very clever storytelling.
So here's the uninteresting part of kayfabe that has nothing to do with kayfabe. The last thing I watched of their YouTube channel was them going through the transcript of the trial between McFarlane and
Yes.
oh my god,
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman. Yep. And it was fairly entertaining to watch the back and forth and like how that all went down, but like of all of their content that I've watched recently, it was the driest thing that I could have possibly watched, but was still enthralled by it.
Jim Rugg is doing Hulk Grand Design. Again,
Okay.
Pittsburgh guy. Shout out to Pittsburgh.
Why do you have to be a Pittsburgh guy?
It's just a part of the Marvel's deal.
Really?
Yep.
It's so silly.
I don't make the rules. I make the rules around here, but not for
it's
not
the
for not for Grand Design books from Marvel.
It's the comics industry. It's full of
Doesn't have to
silly
make
just
sense.
stuff.
Right. It's true.
All right, I think we're an hour into this. I was just going to say I was going to talk a little bit about if my comfort thing if I was at home doing nothing. Savage Dragon. It's embarrassing. I think I've read this book since I've been in like 6th grade. Eric was my first Spider-Man artist. I missed Todd kind of by a little bit. Like I caught a little bit of Todd, but really I was an Eric guy, and he's still doing it. He's still a little naughty, but he's still cranking it out. 261 issues later. The only Image founder to continue to write and draw his own book. 30 years. It's Image's 30th anniversary this year, just so we can all feel really old.
Yeah.
With the exception of Lucas, because he's just a young.
Now you can feel old because it predates you.
Sure.
When I started reading Marvel Comics, it was like the 30th anniversary of like those Marvel Comics, like the 62 to 92. And now we're saying 30 years later, it's like, oh my God, I've been there since the beginning. But shout out to Eric Larson. Shout out to Image Comics. I don't know. Can we play something funny? Is there some funny music thing? We play a little something here. Do Aaron's whatever, it doesn't matter. Play one.
Why don't we do cereal?
I wish we had something good to eat for breakfast. Hey kids, it's the comic shop, and it's a fun part of a balanced breakfast. Chocolate and peanut butter covered cinnamon and sugar waffle shaped cereal with color sprinkles and marshmallow superhero bites. Now with caffeine, taurine, creatine, and mescaline. Don't forget a little dimethyltryptamine. Did you just give us drugs? Are
Now
you
we're
a
in the Fear and
Clockwork
Loathing in Las
elf?
Vegas,
I think I'm
but with
tasting
cereal.
colors.
Little DMT
Hey, the
reference.
comic shop, part of a
Joe
hallucinogenic
Rogan guy,
breakfast.
I know.
Nope.
I used to be.
Nope.
I used to be. I loved like. I was talking about this the other day. Actually, this is a very random story that goes nowhere, but I used to train jiu-jitsu back 1,000 years ago with a guy who trained with Joe Rogan, and this is before. I mean, Joe Rogan was a commodity, but. And the guy used to fly back and forth between New Jersey and California, and he would do 2 weeks in California, fly back and do 2 weeks in New Jersey, and teach everything that he learns.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't the instructor, but like Joe Rogan was at a school with. Do you know who Eddie Bravo is?
Yes.
I've trained with Eddie Bravo before.
Okay.
I always forget this guy exists on social media because once every 2 or 3 years he will like something, and then I go, oh, this guy's still out there. Like that's so wild that like because he had a kind of a falling out in the jiu-jitsu community that he was as a guy in this inner circle, like he would do like his early podcasts with Joe Rogan and everything. I believe he kind of was misrepresenting himself at a certain point in time as to his affiliations with people, and I think maybe he was, I don't know exactly, but maybe trying to get some money out of things because he was in like this circle of people where Joe Rogan's popularity was exploding in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I think he kind of got kicked out of the gym and just disappeared. And it was too bad. He was a very good coach, very strange guy. We thought he was like a porn director because he seemed to come from unlimited money and then would fly out to LA and do things. And he just kind of had that personality of like, we would talk and be like,
you really doing?
like, how does he have all this? Like, what is he doing? And he did all this audio visual stuff, which is why I think he was doing early Joe Rogan podcast stuff because he had a very good understanding of all this thing. But that was what we'd sometimes speculate. We'd be like, do you think he directs porn or something like that? Like, I don't know.
Maybe he directed porn with Joe Rogan.
Maybe, but he liked one of my things this week, and I was like, oh, it brought back all those memories of like, because he had all these good stories about hanging out and doing things. Plus, he was a really good jiu-jitsu coach, and I used to love Joe Rogan. But times have changed in the past several years.
He's
so
gone off the rails a little bit.
all right, we're totally off topic. Do we have anything we want to plug? Do you want to plug Lowe's?
Lowe's.
Okay. Would you like to plug
The Department of Public Works, where you can tell us we're all lazy.
And I'm going to plug the comic shop, 112 East Bridge Street, the comic shop. Oswego Comic Shop online. We got a whole bunch of new Magic singles in this week. All of our new comics are listed online. You can go to the wall, see everything new that came in this week. What else do we got? We got a bunch of Funkos. We got some new dice for Warhammer in. Alex, you want to show a nice little tiny dice that we got in
Tiny
today?
dice.
Oh, all
those.
sorts
Those
of
are
good
fun.
things. But
Those are a good time.
yeah,
Good time.
and I think that's it. So again, my name is Evan Coy,
I'm Lucas Brewer.
Alex Dexter.
and have a good night, everybody. Take
Shop
care.
at Lowe's. Thank you.
Yeah.